Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Client Blue podcast. It's our Inside BODYMOOR preview show for Fulham versus Aston Villa. Now, I've been waiting for the last 20 minutes to start this, John. John Townley, says Stephen in the comments. John, never on time. Townley is here. John, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm 60 seconds late, I think. So I don't think it's too bad.
You told me quarter to five, but there we go.
Well, I won't go through the whole of my journey, but yeah, I was delayed coming back. So yeah, pit stop basically that I had to attend to. So sorry for being 60 seconds late. I'm sure it's the last time that I'll be late. Don't worry.
Exactly. Before we started, the live chat was kind of ready, even though we weren't live, and just got chatting to different people watching. People watching, yeah. And there's people watching from all over the world, John, which is really nice. Liam is in Milwaukee. Stephen is in Helsinki. One Pride Hawkeye is in Des Moines, in Iowa. I think that is. Yeah, Liam says I got to meet John in Philly, top guy, even when he's late. Bolg, the villain, says Wiltshire, UK. And Lewis Abbott is my favourite one, who says I'm viewing from Drayton Manor, the theme park, which is probably the most niche place anyone has ever tuned into a podcast from. So thanks everyone for joining us. I also said to people, let's get some booze in the chat. And then the chat was just full of people going boo for John being late. So I've really enjoyed. So that's entertained me for the last 10 minutes or so. But we're here to entertain you for the next 25, 30 minutes or so to talk about Fulham versus Aston Villa. John, we'll get straight into the bulk of the show today with the press conference. You've just got back from Bodymoor Heath. Literally, that is the point of this show. How was Unai today?
Yeah, Unai was good. Always in good spirits is Unai in press conferences, and he had a lot to say today. There was lots of different snippets, I suppose. I can only cover what's said in the broadcast section, which is usually about 3 or 4 journalists from BBC WM, Talk Sport, Sky Sports, broadcast, and then the rest of it is saved for newspapers for later on in the day. And there was less people in broadcast today, but I felt like there was more I don't know, how do I say it? More opportunities for content, I suppose. Like usually in a press conference, I kind of know what I'm gonna kind of write about, depending on what the news is. But Emery was talking about different things today, like Tim, Diaby, etc., and obviously injury news as well. Quite a few injury updates. So I don't know. Where do you want to start then?
Let's start with the Tim Iroegbunam stuff. I think that was interesting to me. I saw a couple of people who was at the presser. I think Jacob was one who said that he almost went on like an impassioned, almost not rant is the wrong word, but was like got quite animated about Tim. There's a comment from Keith here says, "Lads, the passion from Unai Emery when talking about Tim was encouraging." Now the impression I got before the press conference was like there was a lot of kind of talk on social media that Kamara is out, which we've discussed. Tim Iroegbunam comes in, he's a defensive midfielder. To me, that's not how I see it playing out at all. I think McGinn will drop back in midfield. Tim will be used. We will need him at some point during this season, of course, off the bench or in Europa Conference League games or whatever it is. Tim will play a part now when previously he probably wouldn't have done. But I don't think before today's press conference that Tim Iroegbunam is ready to start matches in the Premier League for Villa. Does what Unai said about him today sway you on that at all? Do you think he is ready?
Not particularly, no. I think if you kind of listen to everything that you said, you mentioned that it might take him like 1, 2, 3, 4 games to kind of really get into the groove of it. And yes, he was very passionate. Like us reporters were saying afterwards, we were kind of just going along with what Unai said, and then all of a sudden you kind of jump back and think, oh, is he shouting at me for kind of not looking at him? He did that last week as well, actually, for maybe 2 weeks ago now, before the Chelsea game, when someone asked him about would you rather Conference League or FA Cup, and he really did kind of use his voice and try to like explain different things, I suppose, through different tones. But I feel like
sorry, just to interrupt. Sorry, I feel like this is probably a silly point because obviously I'm not there, but I feel like he's more confident with his English now. These kind of like outbursts, for want of a better word, where he's been a bit more expressive, is something that shows confidence in his ability to get his points across better, I think.
Yeah, but that could well be the case. I don't know, maybe it's something to do with Villa's injuries as well and the kind of a blip in form. Previously, he probably thought I can be very calm and relaxed in these press conferences.
Maybe.
But now I think he knows, because obviously the broadcast stuff is what fans see. The written stuff isn't. That's what fans will read. So Maybe he's just aware of like, okay, this is kind of my opportunity to kind of speak to the fans as well, even though I'm not directly talking to them. That may be another point. But yeah, Tim, I don't see starting against Fulham. I don't see him starting many games this season, if I'm being totally honest, in the last 3 months of the campaign, because we still have a strong midfield there with John McGinn. Tielemans can play that role as well. Only played once with Louise against Bournemouth when we drew 2-2. But yeah, McGinn, 6 games, 4 wins. What I would say is, though, the opposition when McGinn has played with Louise has been relatively weak compared to, for example, when we played Dendoncker, because obviously Dendoncker is more enforcer, therefore he plays against Man United twice. Once in the win on Unai's first game against United, but then in the Boxing Day defeat. So it's, you need to take it with context. We'll know after the next 3 or 4 games what exactly Unai has planned. But when he was asked about that question of, how are you going to replace Kamara, the first thing he said was John McGinn is versatile, and kind of said there he's going to play. But then he kind of went on to talk about, well, also Tielemans can do it. And then also we have Tim, who I didn't sell in January or, loan out because I want to work with him. And I did a video a couple of days ago basically explaining that I wouldn't be surprised if, Tim went to QPR and he played in a role that isn't what he'd be doing at Villa, basically, in the rest of this season, playing that Kamara role. He was kind of being asked to play more advanced, be more box-to-box. Defensively, he has a lot of work to do. Whether he's done that over the last 6 months or so, possibly. But I think Emery probably thought, well, is it worth me loaning Tim to a different team and him playing in a different role to what he would be asked from me when he returns to Villa? Do you know what I mean? So he's clearly got lots of talent, but I think Emery probably thinks, right, this is my little project that I'm going to, do with Tim, and I'll improve him at Bodymore because I know what I want from him, rather than the Swansea manager or the Ipswich manager or whatever, who will be telling him different things like we saw at QPR last season. So, yeah, I don't expect him to, be massively involved. Do I expect him to have more minutes? Yes. And yeah, Emery clearly rates him. And that kind of impassioned speech that you talk about, he was also kind of referencing Kessler as well. Previously in the press conference, he basically said we've lost some players, but we've now got some more as well. We've obviously got Rodgers, we've got Kessler coming back. Tim was injured until about November. Don't forget, he didn't have a pre-season, so that's not like a new signing because he's not going to have a massive impact. But Emery sees it as this group of players. We've added Kane, we've added Tim in the last few months. Obviously Rodgers as well. So, and that'll be the case again in the summer when Lino Sousa comes back or joins, same as Costa.
Just a random side point. I saw this on social media just before we started about Unai's appearance. It was like, it looks like a man who's not slept for the whole week, given what's happened to us with the Man United defeat and the Kamara injury. One picture of him, he looked really like not clean shaven, red eyes. The thing I picked up on, he's wearing a hoodie. That felt really weird to me for some reason. He always did like tracksuit or suit. See, Unai Emery in a hoodie felt like something I shouldn't be seeing.
It's because they're, well, I don't know if I'm giving anything away by saying it, but I presume that they're travelling tonight to London. So it's kind of like a leisure, comfy work, comfortable.
To me, that was like he's been sleeping at Bodymore all week and just wearing my comfy clothes.
Well, that could also be the case, but no, I believe it was parked outside, so they were kind of ready. I'm pretty sure they're in these away games. If they do a press conference before, it's kind of like training, lunch, press conference, leave for hotel, and then stay over, play the game. So yeah, just comfy leisure wear, I think, for the trip.
Let's get into the injury update then. A few little bits and pieces here to talk about. We'll start with Torres and Digne, who are both available to start this weekend. That's good, isn't it? It's good news.
Yeah.
Great news,
I'd expect Torres to start with Longley. Obviously, that's 2 left-footed centre backs, which does concern. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, they could both start. Is this injury news, by the way? Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, injury news. Digne, yes, could start again. I don't think he will, because for me, Moreno had his best game in the season so far against United. Maybe that was because United aren't very good defensively, and we should have, scored more goals than we did. Ramsey, again, no coincidence, he played his best game as well, because I think United are quite open. But those players need those games, high level games, but they need confidence as well. And I think Moreno has got, or is getting that now. So I don't think there's a need to rush Luca Digne back. He's had a hamstring injury. We know how difficult they can be to manage in the first few weeks when you are back to fitness. So the main update, I suppose, is Carlos, I guess. 3 to 4 weeks, Emery says. again, that's something that they'll just have to monitor. It's not going to be an exact game or date. Hamstring injuries aren't, like Luca Dean, Emery was very specific. Yeah, he hasn't played, in the last few weeks after returning from training. So it all depends on how Carlos responds to it. I think he had a hamstring injury at the start of the season, if I'm not mistaken, when he came off against Liverpool. I think Bailey came on and then he came off again in the second half. But yeah, he didn't kind of take too long to recover from that one. So hopefully this one won't be too bad either. Tyrone Mings and Emi Buendia, obviously there was like a big thing on social media the other day, kind of completely blown out of proportion.
That surprised me a little bit. That did. You're talking about the picture of Mings that sat on a bike at Bodymore, and then Fabrizio Romano tweeting that he's returned to training, and people going, "Well, bloody hell, maybe he's going to be back sooner than we thought." It's not the first time Tyrone Mings has been at Bodymore Heath, no.
No. He's been training and training. He's been doing gym work for weeks and weeks now. So yeah. I think there's a couple of things have maybe lost in translation from Fabrizio as training as in gym work. And the second bit of kind of, I don't know, I'm not the one to suggest that Fabrizio doesn't do his homework, but you know what I mean? He wasn't back and ready to feature. I think he mentioned that it's a good boost or something. He's not going to play or very unlikely to play. Emery says he doesn't expect it from both of them. But he did say that he hopes that they will both, Buendia and Mings, be available for training towards the end of the season. So, I don't know, say May time, maybe they can kind of return to pretty much full training or at least, contact and stuff like that. And then, going into pre-season, they're going to be ready to kind of have that full pre-season without any little issues. For example, Kamara won't have that pre-season. He'll have to work his way up when he returns in October or September, which is a good kind of smooth segue to that. So Kamara, September, October time. Again, he's going to need a bit of time to get fully back into the groove of things. So
you're looking at Christmas, aren't you?
Yeah, when the fixture list comes out, you look at, well, maybe November or something, but around that time when they change the ball from the white one to the yellow one, that's when Kamara will be back. So yeah, he'll miss the first much of the season. Hopefully not too many of our Champions League games. And who else have we got?
You're on good form tonight. I'm enjoying this.
Who else have we got? Help me out. Conser. No update on Conser as such, but I mean, that's a good thing, right? It's going to be...
Yeah, let's talk about Conser quickly. We get comments on this, and I've seen comments on your social media today after the press conference and various updates that have been posted. Any news on Conser? What's happening with Conser? A lot of rumours going around over the last, I don't know, week, 10 days or so that Conser's got an ACL and it's going to be another bad injury for Villa and it's a serious one. And we were initially told by Emery in a press conference after it happened, 3 to 4 weeks. With these kind of things that are weeks rather than months, we've seen with Torres, you think, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and it extends to 5 or 6, and that's pretty commonplace, isn't it? To be out by a couple of weeks. Or Diego Carlos, for example, he said 3 or 4 weeks, could be 5 or 6, depending on how he kind of deals with the recovery. People are suggesting that it was 3 to 4 weeks, then go, oh no, it's 6 to 8 months because it's an ACL is total rumour and fabrication come out of nowhere. The fact that there's no further updates from the club or Emery now, and there's been a couple of games passed and press conferences passed since those rumours, show that it's rubbish. So people are still going on of what's happening with Conser. Is it a bad one? Is it a bad one? No, it isn't. It's 3 or 4 weeks, and give or take a couple of weeks either side if it takes a little bit longer than we think. But it's not a serious season-ending ACL injury, is it?
No, so what I'm led to believe is that obviously he sprained his knee against Sheffield United. The diagnosis then was, as I said, sprained knee. So you're looking at around 4 weeks. But then it's kind of commonplace to continue to do some tests if, there's any doubt or whatever. As far as I'm aware, he's had those tests and clearly nothing's been said or has come up from that. And of course, there'd be a club statement if he's out for the season with an ACL. And again, that isn't the case. So, you're looking at weeks. Again, I don't like giving a specific time. I can sit here and say, oh, yeah, another 4 weeks. But I could say that after each week. It doesn't... I don't want to put myself in a kind of a time frame or a game where he will return. But, of course, he'll be back for... I don't want to say the running. For me, running is like 6 games. But I don't know. Let's say after these 4 games, let's look at where Conser is then. Can he return to training? That sort of thing. Can he... have more load, and then you're looking at, I don't know, the last 10 games, where are we then? Do we have Carlos back? Is Conser back? Obviously we're without Kamara for the rest of the season, but when we can get Carlos and Conser back, let's say it is after Tottenham or around that period of games. Let's just put the next 4 as kind of this is our squad. I've said it before. My kind of positive nugget is that if we beat Fulham, depending on the results, even if Tottenham match our results, we will be above Tottenham if we win our next 2 games. Put it that way, because Tottenham don't play when we play Nottingham Forest at home, so we can go into that Tottenham game as long as we don't lose to Luton or whatever. But you get my gist. We can go into that Tottenham game knowing that we'll either be ahead of them or pretty much level on points. Obviously, they'll have a game extra to play against Chelsea away, but it's nice kind of mentality to have. And then you're going to get Conte back and Carlos back, and then all of a sudden your squad is looking a bit more padded out. Again, no Kamara, but if we can win those games or win at least some of them with John McGinn playing with Louise, then you just go into the rest of the season then with, okay, this is where we are, this is what we've got. Let's just give the next 10-9 or the last 10-9 games as much as we can and see where we end up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's enough for injuries, isn't it? I've not missed anyone off. Everyone else is fit and available.
1 sec, I did make a note. Bear with.
Go on, then.
I don't think so. There's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no fresh injuries. Emery didn't mention any fresh injuries, so I think that's a lot. I think.
Okay, right. Let's move on to away from match day then, the part of the show where we get to talk about something that is not related to Fulham or Aston Villa at the weekend. And for this one, I just want to quickly talk about the Conference League. Me and Neil did a show yesterday called 6 Reasons to be Positive, because the last couple of shows we've done have not been very positive, but all that's in the past now. It's a new, fresh start, new game to talk about. Here we are. Conference League, obviously, playoff round or whatever you want to call it, knockout playoff thing has been back this week. The first leg of those games that Villa managed to avoid by going top of their group. Just wanted to kind of give reference to that's back soon and kind of what the next stages are for those that maybe aren't fully up to speed with it. So my understanding of it is, John, and you can butt in and correct me if I'm incorrect here. Obviously, this playoff round is happening at the moment. The first games were yesterday. The second leg is next Thursday. So those 8 games that are being played were the runners-up from the group stages versus people that dropped down from the Europa League. Is that correct? Yeah. The winners of those 8 games will then play the 8 sides that top their group, as Villa did, and those are being played on, is it March the 7th and the 14th?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's when Villa are back in European action. So it's still another 2-3 weeks yet. But like I said, I just wanted to give reference to it. And when the draw is something that probably people maybe might not be aware of. Am I right in saying that's this time next week?
Friday. Yes, which would be next week.
Yeah, which would be next week, yes. So kind of just a little comment from you, John, that European football is back, and that, of course that is something to be positive about. I'm very grateful that we're not playing in this 2-legged playoff round with what's happened with our injuries at the moment. It's been really good to avoid that. But give another 2 or 3 weeks or so, but we'll be back in European contention in a knockout game against somebody that we will find out this time next week, and that's something really positive and something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. I think I might read out the teams that aren't in it at the moment. I mean, obviously, some of the results that happened last night quite interesting as well. For example, Betis lost at home to Dinamo Zagreb. Zagreb are a good team, but I'd have thought Betis would be one of the favourites to win it alongside us, I think. So them losing, so they lost their home game. Obviously, they were in the Europa League, so they'll be going to Zagreb needing to win by 2 goals, which is quite a tough ask. So they could be knocked out. Ajax came back from 2 goals down against BODYMOOR. I mean, even if we played Ajax, I think we should be able to beat them because they're just clearly not very good. BODYMOOR, I mean, fair play going to their stadium, big stadium and stuff, and playing well. Legia Warsaw as well, kind of hanging on to 3-0 down. Came back to 3-2, which kind of puts them in a very good position now, I think, to go through. Of course, we can then play them in the round of 16. But the teams who are with us, so the other 7 teams who will be in the draw that we can't play, but top group, if I just get them up quickly, it's Fiorentina, PAOK, Fenerbahce, Lille, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Club Brugge, and Victoria Pilsen. So some good teams there. Obviously, we're in there as well. Draw next Friday. Some of the teams who played yesterday will obviously be in there as well. You're looking at probably Olympiacos, probably Legia Warsaw, I think now.
So we can only play one of the teams that is in this playoff round. We can't play any of the other guys that top their group.
Yeah. Shall I read some of them out? So Sturm Graz, great pronunciation, by the way. I think they won against Slovan Bratislava quite comfortably, so they'll be in the draw. And so we could play them. That's one of the 8 teams we could play. Servette or Ludogorets, they drew. Union Saint-Gilloise or Frankfurt, they drew as well. So you're probably thinking Frankfurt go through because they're at home. Dinamo Zagreb are likely to beat Real Betis. Olympiacos should go through against Ferencváros. I think that says it. Ajax, then Bodo Glimt. I don't know who goes through there. And Molde, Legia Warsaw, maybe Legia Warsaw. Maccabi, Haifa, and Ghent are the other 2 as well. So out of those 8 teams, we'll play one. And then in the quarterfinal, we could then play the teams I mentioned earlier, who were Fenerbahce, Lille, those guys. So no, it's exciting. I get excited for any cup draw. So next Friday it will be quite big because again, it's like we're deep in the competition now, and it's a European Cup as much as I kind of I don't know. I don't want to say I poo-poo it sometimes, but I've said my bit on that. It's an opportunity to win a trophy.
Yeah, somebody in the comments just said, what time is the draw? From the Europa League website, Conference League website, it says that the seedings, groupings and procedure will be available online at 9 a.m. CET, and the draw is being done in Switzerland at 1 p.m. CET. I'm not quite sure what CET is. Is that European time?
I think they will do they do the Champions League draw. I think Champions League's already been drawn. I think they'll do the Europa League draw before Conference League, and then is it 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock our time? I'm not too sure. But
yeah, so you're looking at lunchtime next Friday. Incidentally, next weekend, Villa also play at 3 o'clock again at home to Nottingham Forest. So our preview show that we're doing now for Fulham, that we do for Forest next week, will be the same kind of time, 5 o'clock, if John is on time, as a live stream. So we'll react to the Conference League draw as well.
Yeah, Emery
next Friday, we'll speak about it next week.
Yeah, I don't think Emery will say anything particularly like juicy about it, but we'll get his kind of raw reaction as well, because the press conference is usually about 1:30, 2 o'clock. So it'll be just after the draw's been made. So yeah, I doubt he'll say much. But I mean, if it's Legia Warsaw, maybe there'll be more to say. Probably not from Emery though. But
no, I saw that Neil called Legia Warsaw Mayonnaise FC after one of their fans threw that mayonnaise bottle and fell over outside the hole, which I'm a big fan of. And I'd rather not play them again, to be honest. Let's get on with the rest of the show then.
Go on. You know the guy Mucci, the winger that was, I thought, very, very good in the home leg and the away leg for them. He scored at the whole end, great goal. He's now left for Besiktas, I think. So
okay,
kind of calmed myself down in case we were to get Legia.
we should, if we're talking about Villa like going all the way and being one of the favourites, whoever we draw, we should be beating anyway. So yeah, I'm not really concerned at this point who it is. I back us to beat anybody. There's a positivity that people are looking for.
The easiest ride. I don't think any of those games will be easy, but yeah.
No, I'm not saying easy.
Yeah, if you can win the home game by 2 goals, you'd like to think that the away leg, and you play away first, by the way, in the round of 16.
Yeah, so I think that's quite an advantage. I'd rather be away first and then have to kind of recoup it at home if we had to. But if you win away, you're absolutely set up to go through. Right, onwards then with the Fulham show. We'll do predicted 11 next. Now, this is a bit more interesting than normal, John, where we just go, unchanged again, is it? It won't be unchanged this week due to the injuries to Carlos and Kamara. So how do you think Unai Emery will line Villa up tomorrow?
So Martinez in goal, Cash right back. I think Moreno will keep his place at left back. I think Dean will have to be kind of worked his way into things. So I wouldn't be surprised if he came off the bench, for example. Longley and Torres should play as a partnership. I think obviously the backup options there are Callum Chambers. Well, is only Callum Chambers, and I don't think apart from being right-footed, kind of Torres obviously or Longley win every other sort of conversation with it. Yeah, and I mean, going to Fulham's a tough game for a start. So I think if Torres and Longley can play well, then I'll be happy to see them play. Instead of Carlos or Konsa until they're back. So, tomorrow's a bit of an acid test really for those two. I'd expect McGinn to play with Luiz and the kind of pivot, Ramsey off the left, kind of him and Moreno doing their thing. And on the right, I don't know, I'm kind of questioning would Tielemans play or Diaby. I think Diaby might get a shout, or Bailey, sorry, kind of those two, if you will, on the right, and then obviously Watkins at front. But I think that's the kind of question mark in this team now. It's because McGinn's going to be pulled back, I think then it would leave that one space in front. And Tielemans usually plays off the left, which is obviously Ramsey's preferred position. So it does leave that place on the right open for Bailey or Diaby, whichever one plays to Watkins or plays, more wide. So that's interesting. And I do like the combination that Diaby and Bailey have there so quick and they know each other so well. I think it would cause problems for any defender. And Robinson, left back, the Fulham left back, is a very good player, but he likes to get forward. So if we can kind of double up on that side almost, as though having those two attacking threats, there's going to be space at some point in the game. And Fulham concede a lot of shots. I think 46 in the last two games, which 20 in each match against Bournemouth and Everton. If they concede another 20 against Villa, that'll be the most since Norwich in 2019. Obviously, they were relegated, not very good. So, Fulham are a good team and they are dangerous, but they will leave themselves exposed a little bit, I think. That's something that Villa, I think, should go there and try and exploit.
Two comments very quickly. Jason says, since when were the ads during a live stream terrible from YouTube? Yeah, I will quickly say we can turn ads on or off for live streams, and obviously it's a business, we have to have it on. But we don't have a say of when those ads come for YouTube, really. In the pre-recorded shows that we do, I do get to place them in manually, and I'll try and limit them as best I can. Although YouTube changed its ads recently, and it used to be like you get like a 20-second one and you could skip it. Now when I'm watching stuff, you get like 45-second ones that you have to watch. That's not on us. That is a YouTube thing that they've changed.
Watch
the audio version.
It's like a minute to.
Yeah, some of it's ridiculous. It never used to be like that. That is a YouTube thing rather than the specific person you're watching is like making that happen. For those that are listening on Spotify and whatnot, I do get to place them manually, and we have to do two ads in each break or whatever it is. But yeah, for a live stream, that shouldn't really be happening. But like I said, it's not really my fault, so apologies on YouTube's behalf, Jason. The other comment, back to football, is from James, who says, 2 left-footed centre-backs in Powell and Longley, or is Callum Chambers worth a shout? Now, I'm not, I don't like, so-and-so's playing, so that's a disaster. I've never really been like that. But if Callum Chambers is our option at centre-back, I would be concerned. So, no, I don't think he's worth a shout, to be honest.
Well, Emery did touch on it in the classic embargoed section, so it won't be out till later. And I'm totally honest, I can't quite remember exactly what he said, and I couldn't tell you anyway. But there may or may not be some quotes about Callum Chambers. It depends what the best line is, but I don't think it was anything kind of groundbreaking. But I guess it's like a hint. He hasn't kind of ruled it out, should we say?
Okay, all right. So more on Callum Chambers, or maybe not later this season. That'll spark the comments of going, what is an embargo again? But I feel like we speak about that every week. 2 left-footed centre-backs, Powell and Longley. We've spoken about this at the start of the season when we thought it was going to be Mings and Torres playing a lot together, and could they play 2 left-footed? And it's a conversation that comes up all the time. The easy argument against that, people will say, is, well, if it was 2 right-footers, you wouldn't bat an eyelid at it. So why is this a conversation in the first place, John, that 2 left-footers is a problem? And do you actually think it is a problem to play 2 left-sided players at the same time?
We'll find out if it's a problem for us, I suppose. The way I see it, it is an issue, because I don't know what it is, and this isn't me. I don't know, this might sound a bit stupid, but in football, or whenever I've played football with different people, if you're a left footer, the odds are you can't use your right foot very well, but then right-footed players can use their left foot at least to a decent level, if not use it well.
Professionals, though, they should be able to use both feet.
I don't know how to explain that, but it almost feels like people with a left foot, apart from a kind of a select few, i.e. Conor Horan, I don't think he's touched the ball with his right foot. He didn't really need to too much, but Ian Robin, those players, but I can't think of a right foot player that's, I don't know.
There will be some.
The issue is, some, but I feel like the vast majority of left-footed players can't use their right foot very well, whereas, the opposite is more balanced. But kind of as a start, Emery doesn't like playing left and left. Again, right and right, he'd prefer to have a left in there as well, because we saw out in the USA that he'd play Mings and Konsa, and he'd always have Torres as a left-back, basically doing what Konsa would be doing, but the other way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it worked very well. Again, only pre-season, but I think we struggled with that kind of system. Whereas when Konsa did it, it's much more secure. Again, Konsa's played at right back previously in his career, and he knows the position better than Torres. Torres just looked very vulnerable. So I don't know if that's something that Emery was thinking, kind of, without this long-term Mings injury, whether Torres would play more towards the left rather than central. I don't know, but whether it's an actual issue or it's something that we can cope with over the next few weeks, we'll find out. But
Yeah.
obviously going into the game, it's quite easy for a striker. You know exactly what angle you're pressing at. Do you know what I mean? If it's a long on the left, on the right, which I presume it would be because Torres was more proficient with his left than Longley. Longley's good on his left, of course, unless I've missed something, kind of in terms of which one has a better right foot. But you know that you're going to press on his right, on his left, because you want him to shift the ball to his right and play a crap pass to Matty Cash, and it does limit our build up on that right hand side quite a lot, I think, unless Fulham don't press us, because obviously without any pressure you can use your left foot when you like, but if they are pressing you and forcing you onto your right foot, then obviously that's an issue, and you don't want him to, or whoever's there, to fluster and rush and give the ball away on the edge of the box, or when we're high up and then it causes a turnover, and they've got some quick players for them. So it's definitely an issue for me, and something that's very easy to identify and very hard for us to stop as well. So that's probably quite negative, but I think that's the facts of it.
Okay, interesting. Well, we'll find out tomorrow, won't we? Whether it's a generic issue in football that two left-footers is a problem is irrelevant. If Villa's two left-footed players happen to work well together, we will literally find out tomorrow and see what happens. And on the flip side of that, just because it's okay tomorrow means it might not be okay in the long term, and we do need that right footer back. But again, that is delving into the realms of being too negative. So let's move on, John, and finish the show with our score predictions. No opposition view this week, sadly. Score predictions then for Man United. I went for 3-2 Villa. You went for 2-2, and it was of course 1-2. So none of us were even close. I went with win. You went draw.
I was only a goal out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in terms of like, none of us predicted Villa to lose, so not close in that sense. Scoreline obviously not far away. So for Fulham this weekend, are we in the realms of must win, or is that too over the top?
I don't like the phrase must win.
I know you don't, but I have to ask.
I
feel like we probably are.
If we don't win, then we stay fifth. Like, it's not a must win. If you offered me 7 points in the next 3 games, would you take it? I think that's the kind of question.
Yeah.
But coming after the game,
would you take it?
I would. Put this way, we'd be above Tottenham before we play them, so maybe I would. I think, we take every game as it comes now. I sound like a manager saying that, but coming out of Craven Cottage tomorrow, if we draw the game without context, it's an even game, we draw 1-1. I don't know if I'd be happy with that, because that feels like we've dropped points. I just think if we can win tomorrow, it gives us a massive boost, because we've done. I don't think we've won back-to-back games away from home all season, which is something that I was shocked at when I looked at it in the league away from home. And I just think with all the injuries and stuff we have, if we can get a win, it would give us a massive boost, because now we know that we can go to somewhere that's relatively difficult to play at. Fulham have got a decent home record. I think it's the 8th best in the league. So we're technically going to a team who, based on the home form, is competing for Europe. I know it in kind of a roundabout way. That's not the case, but it's going to be a difficult game, and if we can get a win, it'll be huge for us. So, is it a must win? No, but every game feels like we have to win, because we've kind of given us a bit of work to do now because of the United results. I think United play Fulham, Luton, and Forest in the next 3 as well. So it really just feels like we're competing against Man United this whole season, to be honest. We've lost them twice, which is painful. And then next 3 games.
You said that. Sorry to interrupt. You said that, and so did Neil. I don't know whether you got it off Neil on the podcast we did yesterday. He also said that we play the same 3 opponents against Man United next. But I checked the fixture after that, and that's not true. They play Luton, Fulham, and Man City. It's not Forest. They don't play Forest because they've played them already. So he also said that we play the same 3 opponents next, but we don't. So that kind of mini league, if you like, we both play Luton and Fulham in the next 3, but our 3rd game is Forest. Man United's 3rd game is Man City. So you would like to think, even if they match us in the other 2 games, if we beat Forest and Man City beat United, that gap could open up again in the space of a couple of weeks. So you're still correct that these next few games are really important.
Oh, sorry, yeah, their game I think has been rescheduled again. Oh, it's the FA Cup against Forest.
There we go. That's why. That's where the confusion comes from.
Yeah. So
to summarise then, must win, maybe not, because like you say, if we don't win tomorrow, is it the end of the world? No, obviously. But it certainly feels like must not lose. And I feel like you just need to get get that result out of the way, really. Got Newcastle defeat, Sheffield United win, but come on, Sheffield United, Man United defeat. If Fulham isn't a win, it's going to just feel that mood again, isn't it, of another missed opportunity. I know. But to me, in that sense, it feels like for us as fans and for what it means to kind of momentum and confidence and whatnot, it feels like must win in those terms. But if we don't win tomorrow, can we still finish top 5? Yeah, obviously, because there's 13 more games, so it's not must win literally. But it feels like we kind of have to. We just have to start winning games now regularly, and this is the perfect opportunity to start a kind of a mini run of 3 in a row, ideally. So I'll go first for a change, and I will say 3-1 to Villa. A nice, convincing, comfortable win on the road. Fulham are decent. I agree with everything you've said, but let's make a statement. Let's go out and win the game.
Yeah, I don't know. 2-1 Villa. Okay. That's my heart saying that. My head says it will probably be a draw, but you are right. The next 3 games are massive because all of a sudden we'll find ourselves, mid-March kind of thing, and it is then technically the running, and then we know what games we're playing. We know what everyone else is doing. Everyone starts adding up how many points the teams are going to get. If we can have, again, a bit of a gap, at least 5 points, and we don't lose anything on United, then we can go into the last kind of knockings of the season knowing what we need to do. The only thing is we go to Arsenal and we go to Man City. I'm not saying that we are going to lose those games because we will compete, but those 2 opportunities for the teams that we already know about, they can gain points on us there. So when we are going to places like Fulham, you are right, Dan, ultimately that is an opportunity to win a match. Like, we can't look at it as, this is difficult. Do we take a draw? We need to go into every game now trying to win it. Like we were at the start of the season, we need to now replicate that form again and kind of get out of this blip and make sure it's not like a kind of prolonged slump.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think, so kind of like head versus heart, I do think we will genuinely win tomorrow. So fingers crossed that is the case. John, thanks for joining me this evening. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for watching it along live on Facebook or YouTube from all over the world, as we mentioned at the very top. Just a shout out to that. If you're watching this on catch up and you're not based, I was just thinking everyone who watches must be based in Birmingham if you're a Villa fan. Obviously, I know that isn't the case. So let us know where you're tuning in from, because I find those things really interesting. We'll be back tomorrow for the post-match show. It will be me and somebody. I'm unsure who yet. It won't be you though, John. I know that for a fact. And hopefully we are talking about huge 3 points for Villa to really kind of set a little run on the go to kind of secure top 5 and make that gap over Man United count. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow. Up the Villa.